This Somalian fraud scheme that's been going on I don't know how long it actually been going on, but we've been knowing about it the last month or so. It's taking a lot of twists and turns that I didn't even expect. I mean, who knew that the rabbit hole ran so deep? But right now, we're going to be reviewing a video from Melanie King. She took a deep dive into this situation and she broke it down, and we're gonna check this video out and review it. Let's go.
4,000 daycares were discovered in a 20-mile radius around Boston, Massachusetts. There are clusters of condos and homes that are registering themselves as daycares. Americans can't even fathom the theft and money laundering taking place nationwide. Why are any of us paying taxes? Now, let me play this clip for you guys. If you hadn't seen my last video, I linked Ilhan Omar directly to the Quality Leering Center. Guys, it's insane. We know with another restaurant that she was receiving campaign donations through that already that was linked to fraud. Now, if you see Quality Daycare Center or Quality Leering Center, guys, it's so insane. The restaurant is in the restaurant it's in the front now, right? But before it used to have the name of the daycare. Well, what they did was they moved it to the side door, basically like the kitchen door, the back room door, the storage door is where you see that Quality Leering Center sign. And now there's a restaurant up front. This restaurant couldn't be more than 20 feet deep, right? And then you hit the door to the other thing. And Ilhan Omar was promoting this place. She's in all the promotions for it. It's insane. If you have not seen this video, I have more to get into what's happening over there. But as I said, this is all over the place. It's in Maine, Massachusetts, Ohio, Seattle. We are seeing all of this fraud just in daycares and then also healthcare facilities. I just did in that last video as well, 60 healthcare businesses and one building, this dilapidated warehouse that is Somali run. Just in one of them, there were 60 of them. 60 of them, okay? So this fraud goes deep and wide, but let's get into it.
Can you imagine if Black Americans was to do something like this, what would happen? Man, the FBI, CIA, ATF, goddamn Homeland Security, and several others I can't even think will be up all our ass, man. We couldn't get, and it's looking like they're gonna get away with it. It really looks like they're gonna get away with it too.
And this is the little map which I'll show in a second.
So a lot has happened in the course of the last couple of hours. I think the majority of the fraud is happening in clusters within the same either family members or groups of people or whatever it may be. And it's all happening at it's not very deep, but it's very wide, if that makes sense. So I think that what's happening is it's happening in clusters. And these are clusters of let's say, condos or multifamily homes or whatever it is. And what is happening, and I'm going to find it, by the way. And what's happening is they're all using these single apartments, single condos, or potentially even a single family home if it's really outside of Boston. They're using those as the daycares. That's what's happening. Okay, and their capacity is not the same as it is in Minnesota. That's just the fact. So I think it's happening at scale with a smaller capacity. But so there's probably more people committing fraud at a smaller scale, if that makes sense. So like you're not going to have one building that is committing $5 million in fraud, but you might have 50 buildings that are committing $1 million in fraud. That is going to be the difference between Massachusetts and a place like Minneapolis, because again, the barrier to entry to open a daycare is very, very low, which provides the barrier to entry for fraud to be very, very, very high. And it's very unfortunate because who gets stuck with the bill? We do. What these businesses are doing is that they're charging the state basically to subsidize the payments for these kids that are not even showing up there. The parents are saying that the kids are showing up there, and then both the daycare and the parent allegedly are splitting the money. This is happening.
And if they're on government assistance, think about it. they actually they are benefiting in more than one way. They are getting these vouchers for the daycare. The daycare also gets money from the state. So you combine it all, like they are getting from both ends. Both ends they're doing this. And I'm going to show you how that fraud works exactly in a second. But let me pull up this map. Hopefully, let me make myself smaller. Okay, so this is the map that he pulled together of the daycares in this radius. Is this insane? Is this insane? And a lot of the radius is water. So if you cut that part out, there is no need for all of these daycares, okay? These Somali daycares. Who knows what other community is doing this as well? So the fraud goes on and on. Now tying back into that, okay? So this is an example of what they do. Two Somali sisters living next door to each other in taxpayer-funded housing can make $387,000 a year by looking after each other's 4 children.
Wow.
Is that wild? If they have 8 children each, they make $774,000, which we know they have a bunch of kids, right? We are paying for our placement, guys.
Wow. They hustling like that? 387,000 a year just by saying they looking at after each other's 4 children, and double it if they have 8. Man, they so busy watching us. The FBAs, they just letting all this fly by. They so busy patrolling and policing us and watching every move we make. Look at this. No wonder they so arrogant, the Somalians so arrogant when they call Tariq Nasheed show and bragging. You know what? I'm gonna try to edit it. I'm gonna see if I can find it. I'm gonna edit it into this video. If I can find it on Tariq Nasheed's channel. Like it was one Somalian in particular, he was just bragging about how much money they got, how much they done ran it up since they been here, how much they better than us. But yeah, no wonder. Like I say that man, we couldn't even think of running it up like this, man.
This is they've done this on purpose. The government has done this on purpose. They want this. So people are not crazy when they're saying, why are these things happening? It seems as though they and I even cover with election fraud. There's election fraud tied to this. Okay. When we say that it's this invasion, that they want our borders open and they want to prioritize all of these people other than the American taxpayers, well, this is what's happening. Yes, we're sending out billions in foreign aid, but there is more than enough fraud here, just in the system alone, that this is why everyone is just in shock. But this has been going on for decades. This is a scheme, and it ties directly back to politics, right? So this doesn't have any, it's just kind of music playing, but let me just see if we want to see it. It says, so you are Somali in Washington State, you have 4 children. I think it kind of explains the same thing. I don't think we need to go over it. But just to give you an idea of what this is, so how this scheme works, can you imagine? You go to work every day, and these people could just, with their own kids, they live next door to each other, and just register each other's kids in their fake daycare. That's what they're doing, and this is how this cycle continues. And these daycares aren't real; they're just shell companies. They're just fake. And speaking of fake, Feeding Our Future, which is a separate scheme that was $250 million stolen from children getting a school lunch program under Tim Walz. That was the main thing. And then all this other fraud popped up. It says, my jaw's on the floor. Amy Bach, the ringleader of the Feeding Our Future COVID fraud scheme, is listed as the contact for at least 47 taxpayer-funded child cares in Minnesota, according to official state database. These locations must be investigated for potential further fraud. So this is a woman that was convicted. Her name, she is the contact for all of these daycares. Do you see how insane this is? Look at this. I got more. Somalia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, who owns a healthcare company in Ohio. So the Somali Minister of Foreign Affairs in Somalia owns a healthcare company in Ohio, receiving tax dollars. So this Somali government official owns this company, healthcare company in our country, in Ohio, and is getting tax dollars for it. He also owns another LLC with the same address as the Somali Money Transfer Org, accused of funding terrorism. His business partner appears to be working for the Money Transfer Org too. This just keeps getting worse and worse. Are you guys tracking this? Excuse me, you guys know I'm so under the weather. So this government official owns a healthcare business in the U.S. under that and is getting taxpayer dollars for that, our dollars. In that same building, that same office, is this organization. It's a money transfer organization to Somalia that funds terrorism. This is the paperwork. This is the paperwork, guys. I guess this gives a little bit more. This is him. His name is Abdul Suri. All right. And then this is the money transfer services that they use in order to fund terrorism back in Somalia. That is a direct link to terrorism. But we've already known that it was that. But let me play this clip for you. It says Minnesota Somalis have apparently stolen more than the GDP of Somalia, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. Nationwide welfare fraud could amount to $1.5 trillion a year. That's enough to exempt all Americans from income tax for up to $200,000. This is wild.
Somali daycare powerhouse Quality Leering Center has closed. If you need to leer your kids, you will need a new daycare. The nation is being seized by what Zero Hedge calls the Nick Shirley effect, as hundreds of citizen journalists fan out exposing what looks like tens of billions, perhaps trillions, of government fraud. What's been found so far focuses on the Somali community, where despite nearly 90% of these model migrants being on welfare, they've managed to set up tens of thousands of apparently fraudulent daycares, autism therapy centers, food for kids programs, and home health companies. To give a flavor, there's apparently one Somali healthcare company per 3 Somalis in the nation. Somali-run autism grants in Minnesota now run $399 million a year. That's up from $3 million 7 years ago. Somali child nutrition scams were actually prosecuted for $300 million stolen, after which even more scams sprung up while the city and state turned a blind eye lest anybody call them racist. So far, it comes to an estimated $8 billion of Somali fraud in Minnesota alone, roughly $250,000 per Somali household, meaning the roughly 65,000 Somali adults in Minnesota managed to steal more than the entire GDP of the nation of Somalia. So Saudi Arabia has oil, China has factories, Somalia has quality leering centers. Unfortunately, Somalis are just the tip of the iceberg. A new study found half of New York City is on Medicaid. Note, average income in New York City is $81,000 for the household. Nearly 40% of New Yorkers are foreign-born, meaning they are getting free care when the rest of us who pay for it shell out tens of thousands for insurance. A 2023 City of New York survey found foreigners, who's not foreign-born, but actual foreigners, occupy nearly a third of public housing and over 40% of rent-controlled and stabilized units in the city. California is even worse. The state auditor recently tallied $70 billion in fraud, including $2.5 billion of SNAP.
I seriously want to know, is something going to happen? Or is just going to be reporting, and then 6 months from now, nobody's saying nothing about it? Because they letting them, it's unbelievable right here. I'm still tripping out the damn daycare thing. The damn 387,000 a year just saying they watch each other kids. That is crazy. I want to know if what's her name? The Omar, whatever brother name is, Ilha Omar. She need to be in prison, man, behind this, man.
Fraud and $24 billion in fraud for homelessness. The fraud industrial complex, of course, took off during COVID. The Small Business Administration estimates $64 billion in fraudulent PPP loans. Other estimates run to $8 billion. Given the median PPP loan was $20,000, that implies 4 million people should be in prison.
Plus, in the COVID-era economic injury loans, where up to $200 billion was stolen, implying another 2 million felons. So take Minnesota Somalis, multiply by 20-plus blue states, dozens of nationalities. For example, 8 Indian gas stations in Texas got $32 million in SBA loans, in case you wonder why Indians own all these 7-Elevens. Now, long-standing government estimates of fraud run north of $500 billion a year. Elon Musk.
So everybody just running it up. Everybody just got their hands in the cookie jar and just getting what they want, while we, the damn American citizens, can't afford life. But yet, here go the immigrants, the foreigners. They're able to run it up, and they letting them do it.
Musk thinks it's closer to $1.5 trillion, which seems right, given what's being exposed. That would be roughly half of income taxes, leading many Americans to suggest perhaps we should stop paying tax until government gets control of the fraud. So as next brought to you by I Trust Capital, the left is responding exactly. So there you have it. But remember, I showed you that a lawmaker blew the whistle on this nearly a decade ago. Nearly a decade ago, even testified in Congress. Nothing was done about it. But look at this, okay? Wow, this was exposed a decade ago and buried. Back in 2015, a former government fraud investigator sounded the alarm. Millions in taxpayer dollars were being siphoned through daycares. When asked how big the problem was, his answer was blunt: massive. They didn't want a fraud unit touching it. It was nothing but a cover-up. We found evidence of companies...
Hold on. Think about this. How can millions be siphoned through daycares? How does that even make sense? Millions siphoned through daycares, not, oh my God, not banks or hedge funds or daycares. Oh my God, I can only imagine this rabbit hole goes so deep. The politicians, the whoever, the world leaders, or whoever involved in this, because this just don't get to this point in certain political figures are not involved in signing off on this. It just don't. It don't get this big. I mean, hey, they catch folks, folks in the hood for food stamp fraud for a couple of hundred. This right here? Nah, I mean, I'm start looking into this, man, because I'm pretty sure, man, this rabbit hole goes super, super deep. I'm looking into this now.
Millions in public subsidies for fake child care services. At its core, this was the construction of a full-blown criminal enterprise. 10 years later, and suddenly everyone's shocked. No, they're not shocked. They knew this was going on. Guys, I told you, I don't even think anyone's going to go to jail. Ilhan Omar, I talked about that, Tim Walz. We keep uncovering these things. How the evil that is going on in this country while they continue to oppress us, and I mean, we can barely afford groceries, gas, our utilities are going through the roof. People can't afford to buy homes. Job losses by the millions, right? We have AI coming in, digital ID, all of these things at once. Plus, we're going to war. Like, we have all of these things at once coming in and converging. And it's all designed to break us, to completely break our spirit, to completely break our trust in anything. But at the same time, we're supposed to just trust the government and trust they have our best interests at heart. And I told you this, still moving forward about the censorship that's coming, the nearly 20 bills that are in Congress right now to shut down our freedom of speech. And no one's paying attention to that, because now we have this. Like, everywhere you look, we are getting hit. And I told you that's why my trust and belief is in Jesus Christ, because if you do not believe that these are the end times, that these are the end, like, I don't know what to tell you. This is just what we're uncovering. Imagine what we're not. But even when we do, evil is never prosecuted. Evil is never dealt with. Evil is never held to account. And we're going to continue to see more of that.
How significant is this problem? Massive. They don't want a fraud unit to do anything. They want a fraud unit on paper.
Halicki was fired in 2013 while in the midst of a big investigation.
The county claims he was an insubordinate bully whose tactics were hampering efforts to catch welfare cheats.
They don't want to point fingers at various organizations and people. This is nothing but a giant cover-up.
Reports on Deco daycare centers. We uncovered evidence the company was collecting millions in public subsidies for providing bogus child care services to low-income families.
In essence, this scheme was really involved creating a criminal enterprise.
In December, Ramsey County charged Deco's owner with fraud.
The daycares that I'm going to be showing you from this point on all bill over $100,000 a month.
Halicki says before he was fired, he was tracking a similar scheme in Hennepin County involving multiple child care centers.
7 a.m. to 6 p.m. There are no lights on.
This building is housing its third daycare center in as many years.
They just got a new license.
The two previous daycares had their public subsidies stopped by the county because of billing irregularities.
Hour after hour, I would sit here and document nothing.
Halicki discovered one center was charging the county for kids who were never dropped off. He took us to center after center that had no sign outside to indicate it was a daycare. When we knocked on the doors during posted business hours, no one answered. So we checked state inspection records for each of the centers on Halicki's tour. They've all been cited for licensing violations, the kind that are red flags to the state's Department of Human Services.
This is a cover-up. This is a deliberate attempt by the officials in Hennepin County to deceive the taxpayers. I have emails, I have documents, I have everything to prove they knew it, and they looked the other way.
Here's an email he sent to the supervisor of the fraud unit. The goal was to stop the bleeding as quickly as possible and protect taxpayer money from going out the door. Now you want to stop the process? I know you're motivated and rightly concerned, she responds. Let's get a plan together to tackle these centers.
It's nothing but a giant cover-up.
Our focus is really primarily on prevention, but certainly we investigate and take action and work with our county attorney's office whenever there is actual fraud that has occurred.
In the 2 years since Halicki was fired, not one case has been prosecuted by the county. We found most counties in the metro aren't investigating daycare center fraud. They're handing those cases off to a special team with the Department of Human Services that ramped up more than a year ago. Public's wondering, what's taking you guys so long?
Nobody is more frustrated with the amount of time it's taking than we are.
Really? It's the same game that they are playing over and over and over again. But I don't know, guys. Trust the government. They're going to do something. Everything's going to be done now. And I'm just, every day there is something new. Not just with this case, but with everything that's coming out. Guys, I have some more reporting I'm going to do, so make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, man, in conclusion, like I said, I find it hard to believe that this rabbit hole don't run real extra deep, because you just don't, like they said, $1.5 trillion through daycares? Stop it. You so many politicians, not just the Ilhan Omar, I always say her name, not just her. All these politicians getting their pockets greased in line with this, man. That's why I was able to go on. That's why nobody gonna go to prison for it. Nobody. They may lock up a few of the small people just to satisfy the public, say they rounded up a few people. But the people at the top, not gonna get caught. They just made away with trillions of dollars. Trillions. Trillions of dollars while we here struggling. Car insurance through the roof, no tickets. Then speaking of that, then your car insurance already done damn near went up by like 45%. And you got the damn police on the side of the road running sting operations on motorcycles. Damn cop. I'm making a right hand turn out of Checkers. Damn cop on a motorcycle pulled me up because I had my phone in my hand. I wasn't even looking at it or on it. I just had it in my right hand, looking forward. $50 ticket for that. But meanwhile, the goddamn migrants, they get to come get with free iPhones, $5,000 a month food stamp, $5,000 cash. And the Somalians get to do this, and we get the short end of the stick. It's the American way, huh? MAGA, make America great again, huh? Alright, man. I'm gonna put the link to Melanie King's video, this video in the description box. Like, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.